I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Speaking of cracks in the family, what's up with your boy Hakeem Jeffries?
He's a bum.
He riding the fence.
For real.
No, I'm being dead.
For real
on that one. He
really
Right.
is. For really is. So there's a bill out. There's a bill where, let me read it because I want to make sure I'm factually correct. Okay. So basically, hold on, y'all. So, there's a lot of controversy behind the support that the U.S. government gives to Israel, right? And there's legislation put out to limit the amount of aid that we're giving to Israel. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's going out. I think that I read something that says since the 1940s, we've given over $200 billion to Israel. $200 billion to Israel, right?
It actually sounds low, but yeah.
And old people.
So, and I'm going off of what Politico said, so I'll just put that out there. I think it says about $200 billion.
I guess maybe, yeah.
That's been given, and so now there's legislation put out. People are saying, listen, we need to, cut the aid to Israel. And Hakeem Jeffries said he won't support that bill, right? Whatever reason he gave was that it was overreaching and it would limit the ability to aid Palestine and other people and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, for a lot of people who don't agree with the Zionist tactics of Israel, that's a problem, right? And I think that's on both sides. I think there's Republicans that feel that way, and there's definitely a lot of Democrats that feel that way. So for him taking that stance is something that is considered, a considerable letdown for a lot of people. Hearing what he's done and the stance that he's taken, what are your thoughts on Hakeem Jeffries and, him as being, the head of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives?
You're next.
That's what he wants. He doesn't want to ruin his chances of being in a higher position of power. And that's my problem with these politicians is that power corrupts. And they just want so much of it and they get high off of it. It's like celebrities. They need the attention. Politicians need the attention. They just use their brain to get it instead of their acting or their athleticism or something like that. They use the political system to gain this notoriety and this fame and attention. And it's sickening. And I wish we could just put term limits on all of these people. So it's like, oh, darn, you didn't make it to the speaker before you got booted out of this mug. Too bad. Why don't you make some sense in your voting and do things that actually make sense for the world and not just for what you think is going to advance your political career?
So let me be factually correct. So it said House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries urges House Democrats to vote against bipartisan Massey kind of amendment that would block U.S. military aid to Israel.
Yeah.
I think, I'm going to disagree with you for a second, Arika. They are acting. A lot of these politicians are acting. So they are using their acting skills. But not knowing the full context of it, I don't know. Maybe there's something that's, if you say we're blocking the aid here, maybe it does affect how you give aid to other countries. I don't know. Maybe he's because it singles out that one country. I don't know, but because I guess he hasn't really, like you said, he said it will affect how they give aid to other people. I don't know the ins and outs of how the purse strings go, but it sounds fishy to me. I do think it needs to be reined in. We're giving them just the ability to just do it. They know they got a a purse with the U.S. at the bottom, just keep refilling, and there's no checks, there's no questions asked. They're committing war crimes, and we turn a blind eye, and so it does need to be checked.
And there was this rumor out that we were going to be merging our military with Israel's military. So I looked that up to see, okay, then what exactly are they talking about? So basically, it's like they would have a cooperation, like a understanding where they would be working on like technology, defense technology, testing, all the different things that this war machine is good at. And I'm talking about Israel. And that's problematic to me because they are ruthless when it comes to some of the things that they have done in the Middle East, or what people say Southeast Asia or Southwest Asia, right? And, you saw the thing where they had the different pagers or the different cell phones where they wired them to explode. The different type of
public markets and all kinds
of markets, right? The different type of espionage that they've done. A lot of people believe, I don't want no problem with the rules, but a lot of people believe that they got a lot of high power U.S. politicians under their thumb. So
looks like Jeffries is one of them, because my thing is every time there's
allegedly,
I say looks like, so
all right,
catch me on the word, and if you want to.
I already said the N word, and I already talked about racial, so we don't need a third strike.
But my thing is, so every single time there's an issue with the bill and they're like, I don't want to pass it because this, and they tell us exactly what it is that's in there. The Democrats love saying the Republicans have tried to slide this past y'all by putting this in the bill. If there was something very particular, then he should have brought that to our attention. He hasn't done that, which leads me to believe there's nothing to bring to our attention. And the thing about it is, even if it limits aid to other people, only one country has unlimited aid so far. We over here making them beg, and maybe our Congress is saying, hey, my name is Bennett and I'm not in it from this point forward. You want to keep moving forward at max speed, do it on your own dime. You want to defend or fight, do it on your own dime, because we got our own problems that we're not addressing, like water and things like that. And AI sucking up all our water supply and the dam going dry and all these other things. We have our own issues, but nobody's addressing these issues because we're running all our money out to these wars that are blowing up airports in Yemen that aren't even, I don't even understand these targets that they have. I just think that for Hakeem Jeffries to come out not in support of the bill without a good reason that the rest of us can understand is irresponsible on his part. And he has forever lost favor in my eyes, forever.
Well, I think a lot of it, though, goes back to AIPAC. I mean, I'm sure if we, did the research, I'm 100% confident that he's probably getting money through them in some shape, form, or fashion. If not directly from AIPAC, they probably funneled it through some sort of subsidiary that they have because, they've learned to do that, right? Because they know that there's a little bit of a stain, not a little bit. There is a big stain that comes with taking AIPAC money for a lot of people. But my concern is this. I think, number one, they stole the election from Vice President Kamala Harris. But number two, I think that there were some people who were caught up on her stance on Israel and Palestine, and that became an issue that she had to spend a lot of time and resources on defending. And I don't want us to make that same mistake again. I don't want us to make that same mistake again. Yes, I don't agree with the genocide that's going on. No, I don't think Hakeem Jeffries should be taking the stance that he's taking, but I don't want us to get distracted on trying to get the Republicans out of office so we can try to fix some of the damage that they have done. I don't think that we'll be able to fix everything because they went for broke on trying to mess up this country and get everything put onto their side so that they're always going to win. But I just don't need this to be another thing that we get distracted on And people say, well, I'm not going to vote for Hakeem. I'm not going to vote for the Democrats. I'm not going to vote for Hakeem Jeffries or this person right here. And then we lose ground. Now, Hakeem may be straight, because he's in New York. It's probably a high Democrat. He might get primaried, right? So there may be another Democrat that steps in. But what if there's somebody else that may be more at risk because we are worrying about this tangential argument? It's a big one, but I just think we can't afford to have this type of distraction. And I don't want us to make that mistake again.
I don't think it's tangential at all. They're like literally murdering a whole race of people. And I've said this before, I say it again.
I say it's tangential because it's tangential because I'm worried about the number of Black men who are homeless in America. I'm worried about these schools that are under-resourced. These Black kids can't get an education. So my primary focus is Black Americans. So that's why I call it tangential. Not to say that it's right or to minimize it, but to say that our focus needs to be on improving our condition here.
Right, but it doesn't need to be on keeping Democrats in office that aren't exercising the right humanitarian values that we represent either. We don't want to become them to beat them. So I don't care about just keeping the right Democrats in. I want to get the right representatives in office that actually represent values that will move all of us forward, including, especially, and most importantly, Black people.
You're not wrong, but that is somewhat ideal.
And also, I think, when you bring up Kamala Harris, it speaks to the point. She's already the candidate. So at this point, your arguments about what she's not doing or what she's not doing about the genocide, it doesn't matter at this point, right? Because you have,
and it was stupid because she was the vice president.
Right.
That was Biden's administration. Right. Why are you holding it against her?
So you have two options to vote for. And there are a lot of people who are like, you know what, I'm just going to sit this one out, or I'm not going to support her because of this one issue. She's the candidate. And if you're what's the alternative? We talk about it all the time. Staying home and not voting is not a viable alternative. We can't afford to do that.
At this point, we can't even afford to split the vote with these other liberal, green, whatever parties. We just, at this point, the state of the economy is so terrible under this Trump administration that we really need to start focusing our support behind who's going to be the candidate now. And I feel like the stuff like this with Hakeem Jeffries is contributing to the voter apathy that we're trying to combat. This is divisive. And that's AIPAC, that's an agenda of AIPAC, making us disillusioned with our Democratic representatives. So now we mad at him. So now we mad at the Democrats. Maybe we'll go over to the Republican side. This is all strategy to me. And he's just a puppet in the playpen, and that irritates me.
Well, that's why I said we can't afford to get distracted by this stuff.
Right.
That's why I said we can't afford to let this be something that's like, okay, this the line in the sand. You supporting Israel and the genocide they're doing. I think you'd be a goddamn fool to support that, right? Unless you're a warmonger like Lindsey Graham, shout out to Ladybug, right? But I just think we're making a mistake if we allow this to be something that causes us to be apathetic. If this causes us to say, listen, we're not going to vote for the candidate, to Lav's point, who has the best, has the most likelihood to succeed. We can't lose ground.
Right, but we keep acting like it's only either or. We can hold him accountable for this bad decision and still support him as a candidate. But we can criticize his decision making in this process and still vote for him.
Right, but see, this is the thing though, is at this point, what good does that do for you drumming up all that anti-Hakeem Jeffries if he's the candidate? That does zero for you.
If he's a candidate for what though?
No, I'm just saying in any case, you say you can support him, right? So when it's time for the election, you support him. You don't say I support him, but no, you need to pull your support behind him. Then once he gets into office, then that's when you're able to hold him accountable. Because when you're doing it on the trail, then there are people who are going to say, you know what? He really ain't all that. Such and such told me he really ain't a good candidate, so I'm not going to go vote. And so when you have a number of people that are taking that stance, and ultimately they know they're going to vote for him, but they're still throwing all this, oh yeah, but he do this, but he do that. Hey, we'll address that if and when he gets elected. That's not the time to be saying that stuff.
Address it how? Once he's elected, it's too late. If we elect another person who supports genocide, it's already too late for all of us.
So what are you supposed to do if they are the candidate? That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying I hope it's not the candidate. I think,
but that's
Kamala's
not
the clear.
But that's what I'm saying. He's there. He's there. We're here now. We're not talking about ideal and utopian scenarios. We're talking about what's right here, right now, and you have to go on for that.
So, I mean, I agree with whoever gets put on the ballot is who deserves our full support. But today, right now, when he's making a decision and encouraging other people to vote with him, I'm going to criticize that.
I think
he's in office.
I think all three of us have criticized him.
Yeah, he's in office.
But the point that I'm trying to make is okay, we voiced our disagreement, right? We don't fool with the decision that he's making, but don't take it too far.
Yeah.
Because when you start honing in on that and making that something that is like, oh, listen, that's a problem. It's always going to be a problem. You do increase the apathy of those people who are on the fence. You do increase the apathy of those people to be like, because there were a lot of people like, I'm not voting for Kamala because she supports genocide in Palestine. You think Trump don't?
Right. Yeah. Obviously he does, right?
I mean, obviously. But my thing, I agree.
So then what did they do? So by not voting for Kamala, right? For not voting for Kamala because of whatever stance the Biden-Harris administration had on Israel and Palestine, now you got Trump in the office who clearly is in that not use back pocket. What did you really accomplish? What did you really accomplish by making that something that you force her to focus on and to address all the time? That's the distraction that I say that we can't really afford. You can't do it again. We saw how it worked the first time. If we do it again, that's just dumb.
It's a de facto vote for them, basically.
Yeah. I get it. But at the same time, I feel like we keep focusing so much on how to skirt people through that we don't lean into enough voter education. We should not be confused about the fact that both people support sending money to Israel. So this should not be a deciding factor because they both feel the same way. If that's the way it is, then voters should be educated on the fact that is how it is. So we shouldn't be saying, I agree that this candidate is better, even though they vote for Palestine. You should say both candidates are agreeing with the genocide of Palestine. I'm just saying we should be leaning more into voter education and less into letting people slide for things.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. If both sides are siding with Israel and the genocide in Palestine, then what are we making our decision on? We have to make this decision.
That don't even matter at that point,
us, right? So it don't really matter. So the third party is not a realistic idea, right? Really, you got either Democrat or Republican. That's really the realistic what we're dealing with. So if you're saying both sides are down with the Holocaust in Palestine, then it's a moot point. Now we have to go down to the issues that impact
your next item
as Black people. Because if we just say, hey, listen, why am I going to sit here and try to harm the candidate that's going to actually make my life better because they're supporting the issue that the other side is going to support probably even more? What's the point of me trying to hurt them with this when I really should be trying to get somebody that's going to be in office that's going to help improve my situation?
I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying we should be leaning into the education part so that they understand why they're making that decision. I think people feel like we're just telling them who they should vote for or why they should just let it go because it's not important, as opposed to looking at the who they're supporting. I have this I can't think of it right now, but there's a news source that for every political race they give you an outline of how the candidate stands on each point. Because before I went to go vote, sometimes if I didn't have enough time to research the candidates beforehand, I'll just look at that. And I was like, one time I was going to vote and I was like, wait a minute, why does the Democrat have the support of the police union? That never happens. So then I actually looked into that issue and I was like, oh, because this Republican is for deunionization. So that's why they don't support that candidate. But I got to make a decision based off of education and information, not just off of somebody saying, well, both of them are bad, pick one. And I think that that's the point, that I think that people would have less apathy if they understood why we were saying make these choices, make these decisions. If we're saying your life is going to be better, this issue isn't going to be impacted, but your life will be overall better if you pick this person, we could have a bigger impact on voter participation.
I think again, I don't think you're wrong. I just think that it's an ideal situation that isn't 100% practical. I think we sometimes overestimate the education level of the populace, which is done intentional, right? They want us dumb so that we aren't able to have that critical thinking that you're talking about. And for some people, you do have to have a candidate that, in cases, Barack Obama. Barack Obama, I don't know of an, obviously I voted for him because he was a black man, right? But in terms of how he presented himself as a politician, he made it easy for the white folks that you said voted for him, because clearly they did, right? He made it easy for them to vote for him because of the policies that he put forward. He was damn near a perfect candidate. And you have to have somebody who is damn near perfect to get people out in mass to make it easy for them to vote. When you start muddying the water and creating confusion and shit, then you just add into the apathy. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not ready to count us out just yet. I'm not ready to count out critical thinking in the average person just yet. I think the problem is that people count them out every single day. And then
No
they
child left
start this.
behind. No child left behind. Fuck that up, because a lot of these kids that's voting now, they don't have critical thinking. They learn how to pass a test, and they're not as educated as we were at all.
That's fine, but we can have conversations as opposed to just telling people what to do and how to vote and then telling them they're dumb if they don't vote. Because then we're no better than them. We're just doing the same thing over and over again and wishing that the results would be different. We have to start educating each other.
But there's a lot of.
But the thing about it is that's why they win.
Well, and honestly,
you keep saying we know better than them. That's
okay. Well, see, this is the thing too. The critical thinking aspect is important because a lot of the people that are voting, they never have to use critical thinking skills. They're told what to do on their job. They don't have decision making, and so that's what they're used to. So they do need someone to spell it out for them. This is who you need to vote for, because that's what they're used to doing. They never make a decision, they outside of their home. They never have to make a decision that impacts anything.
And I'm not saying that that's not true, because I'm saying you could still have the spreadsheet where it says this candidate supports this one doesn't, this one supports this one doesn't. You don't need critical thinking to say, hey, this matters to me and this doesn't.
I think to bring it back though to the Israel part, like that don't even need to be on the spreadsheets. What I'm saying.
And Rika, I'm gonna tell you something. I live in a neighborhood that is adjacent to a LGBTQIA neighborhood here in Dallas, right? And they be on point. They have, hey, listen, here, you want this this list of candidates that support LGBTQ rights, whatever? Nah, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I already know who I'm going to vote for. I think you overestimate, even if you laid it out on a spreadsheet, they ain't gonna read that shit.
I'm not saying a spreadsheet.
That's what you just said.
You literally just said,
a spreadsheet, but I'm not saying a spreadsheet like that. I'm not saying like an Excel document where they got to navigate through it. I'm saying these are the candidates. This is what they support.
And they're not going to read it.
Yeah, most depend upon, most urban areas, they'll have something like that. There'll be some kind of political action group or committee in that local area that provides that. Now, obviously, it's going to slant towards their
agenda,
their party or what have you. So then you have to use the critical thinking skills to decide which group you're listening to, right? So, there's not going to be just a nonprofit that's just going to put all the facts on there. If I get it from this group, then obviously what they support is going to be weighted heavier, and that's going to show up on the list. If I get it from this other group, then it's going to show up this way. So
but to your point, Erika, I'm not saying that educating voters is not something that we should be doing. I disagree with the tactic. I think in the past, what I have seen successful, growing up in the Kansas City area, I remember the radio station being very vocal about different measures that were going to be on the ballot and how it would impact the Black community. And they would take time in different segments to explain why you should vote against this, why you should vote for this, right? And I think that that was a lot more impactful than asking people to read. A lot of people don't read above, I think, what do they say, above a sixth grade level or whatever? There's a lot of people that don't. I mean, you can roll your eyes, but that's true.
No, I'm
So
saying
they'll be able to listen, and that goes back to what the Republicans are doing. Shout out to Larry Ellison, where they're trying to buy up all the media outlets, right? Then you have what's the one that does the Breakfast Club? Is it iHeartRadio? It used to be we had local radio stations, right? We had local radio stations. So if you went to Kansas City, type music you heard here, there may be some crossover, but you're going to hear different regional music and people will be able to speak to what's going on in that community. Now you got the Breakfast Club being played in all markets. Where are people going to get the information from? Charlemagne, we know how that's going to go, right? So to your point, I'm just saying, yes, we need to educate people. That's why they need to listen to the Man Listen Show. That's why we need other platforms where people are going to listen and be educated and have people put that information out there. So I think we're saying the same thing, but I just disagree with that.
Well, no, I'm saying what you're saying, how you said you listen to it on the radio and they explain to you how the measure is going to impact them. I'm saying that's the information we need to be disseminated. And if we got to make it at sixth grade level, so be it. But we got to start getting that information to them so they're not just being told, vote for this measure. They understand the impact of the measure. That's all I'm saying.
Kathy Hughes used to do that a lot when she was the owner of Radio One, and people say, "Oh, this angry Black lady." I remember my cousin; he's a capitalist, so I didn't expect less from him. But he was like, "Oh, this angry Black lady." I said, "No, she's keeping it real. She's talking about the things that are impacting Black people, and you need to be able to listen to that. And if you hear it on, you hear something on repetition enough, it'll probably sink in, and you'll be able to say, okay, this is something that I need to be speaking out against, or I need to be voting against." So that's why we need people to subscribe to the Man Listen Show. Share it with your friends. Blackest radio show in America. Go to our go to our Instagram. Click that link in our bio. I messed up. And normally what I say. I think we talked about it enough. I'm all off today. But anyway, I think we talked about it enough. Make sure you go to our Instagram, click the link in the bio, and make sure you tell your friends. We need to get them, we need to get those followers up, man. We like at 5 something, man. We need to be at least at 1,000. We need to be at least 1,000 followers, man. So tell your friend, tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your kids, follow us, because these kids, they need this information, right? So with that being said, we'll catch you next time. Peace. Shout out to C.
Don't leave their phone.